All right, welcome everyone. I appreciate everybody's attendance this evening and coming out in this Arctic blast of an evening. But it is now about 6:31 p.m. and I'd like to call to order the Fenton Township Board meeting on this 21st day of January 2025. And again, Happy New Year, everyone. I ask everyone to please stand for the opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Gopal, will you lead us, please?
Yes, sir, thank you. Lord, we're meeting here tonight to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. And as always, we thank you for being the source of our guidance tonight. Amen.
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 I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As always, Mark, thank you very much. Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Lorraine,
Present.
Reed,
Here.
Clark,
Present.
Krug is present, Kessler,
Here.
Gopal,
Here.
Tucker,
Present.
have a full board.
Thanks, Bob. I'd like to note for the record that Township Attorney Jack Belzer, and tonight we have Megan Gito sitting in for Operations Manager Tom Broker. Welcome.
Thank you.
We have our Zoning Administrator Mike Deem, our Fire Chief Ryan Bolts are all present this evening. Additionally, the following Township officials are also present. Melissa Lawrence from Lawrence Engineering. Welcome. Megan, will you detail the procedures for those attending tonight's virtual meeting?
To the members of the public attending tonight's meeting in person or via Zoom, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded to be shown on public access television, Spectrum Channel 191. Recorded meetings are also posted on the Fenton Area Community Television YouTube channel. For those attending via Zoom, we ask that you keep your microphone muted until we reach the portion of the meeting where public comment is allowed. For tonight's meeting, there is one public hearing for 2025 local road projects during which the public comment will be taken. All other public comment will be taken near the end of the meeting. Meeting materials are available for download on the Township's website at fentontownship.org.
All right, thanks, Megan. All right, moving on to the first business in order is the approval of the agenda. Are there any requests to amend tonight's agenda? Hearing none, a motion is in order to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support. All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
I vote yes. Clark,
Yes.
Kessler,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Gopal,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, the agenda stands approved as presented. Next business order is meeting minutes. Included in the packet are the meeting minutes from the January 7th regular meeting. Are there any corrections or requested revisions to these meeting minutes? All right, hearing none, the meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Moving on to expenditures. Are there any questions from the board regarding any of the invoices? Nothing? All right, a motion is in order to approve the expenditures totaling $117,269.45 for payment.
So moved. Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Reed,
Yes.
Gopal,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Kessler,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
I vote yes. Clark,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, thanks, Bob. Moving on to our next business order, which is public hearings. We have the 2025 local road improvement projects. We are conducting a public hearing this evening to obtain input from our residents regarding potential local road improvement projects for the year 2025. I'm sure we've all reviewed the memo in our packet. A listing of all the local roads in Fenton Township is also included in the packet. And tonight, which Tom usually covers, we have Melissa Lawrence from Lawrence Engineering that's going to come up, and she meets with the township, she meets with the county and goes over that. So Melissa, can you bring us up to date, please?
Yeah, hello everyone. So you see the attached list of 2025 proposed local road improvements. And we put together this list by working with the road commission, with the people that actually are out there doing the maintenance and seeing the condition of the roads and what needs what. That's what the basis. This particular list, we've got some that possibly will have asphalt 3, and then I think we've got 6 in the limestone / permazine category. And also input from residents, and that's from throughout the year, people calling with concerns about their roads. And then also what plays into it, and you can see that on the list that you have, when these roads were last, when they had anything done to them. One of them, I mean, I could go over all of them, you have them, but Hogan Road from Lobdell to Silver Lake Road, that particular one is one that you would share with Argentine. So you would need them to buy in, because you would pay half, they would pay half, and then of course it all is the 50/50 that you get from the county road commission. So, any questions about any of them?
All right, does anybody have any questions for Melissa at this point? Thanks, Melissa. All right, the board will now accept public comment on the 2025 local road improvement projects. Megan, is there anything written in the file? Do we have any letters or anything written in the file? Anything in the packet? I didn't see anything. All right. All right, is there anyone here present that would like to address the board? And again, we are only addressing the board for the 2025 local road improvement projects. Is there anyone that is attending tonight that would like to come up, give any input to the board on projects that they would like to see, road projects? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to Zoom. Is there anybody attending via Zoom that would like to address the board? Again, only on the 2025 local road improvement projects. All right, hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the board? All right, we will review all information and bring recommendations back to the board at a future meeting. That meeting has not been determined. It may take us a little while, and we got a little time before we have the need to, in spring, to do that. All right, moving on to reports. We have, the first report is the ordinance enforcement fourth quarter report. We've all reviewed the memo in the packet, and there's also a report in the packet. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I have a fire report also.
Oh,
Well, it's more of a informational communication report, either way you want to put it.
all right, great. On the ordinance enforcement fourth quarter report, are there any questions or comments from the board? All right, Mark, do you want to move on to?
Yeah, as far as the fire department, we have a couple things. We have 14 members on the fire department right now, and our uniforms, our turnout gear is at its 10-year life. So we are the board, the 3 members of the fire board okayed a $77,000 purchase for 14 full sets of turnout gear to keep compliant with the OSHA laws, or NACFA, what do you call that? What's that? NAP? No. What's it?
OSHA and NFPA.
NFPA, okay. Yeah, and that's a law, you can only use 10 years, and we're life limited out there. And also, we are purchasing 4 new defibrillators, 2 for the trucks, 1 for the Tahoe, and 1 for the one upstairs, because they are at their limited number of updates that they can do, and those are gonna be $9,630 a piece. I don't know if the board wants to take action on it. The fire board okayed it, but, that's.
It wasn't on the agenda, Jag?
Nope.
You want to just, want me to hold off until the next meeting?
No, you can do it.
Go
I mean,
ahead.
Yeah, this is a regularly scheduled meeting, you have a
All
full
right,
board
that's fine.
anyways, yeah, you can.
You have anything you wanna add, Chief?
Chief, I do have one question for you. Is the defibrillators, are those the new ones that you showed me the other day that we got in?
Yes, those pretty much have made it their life expectancy. The $9,000 quote's for all 4 of them
A piece.
together. We got a
So
good
they're
deal.
not the machine that I saw?
It's the defibrillators
that
that we use where we put the pads on when we're doing CPR.
Okay, not the one that you showed me.
So these
Remember in
are
your
the
office, the new one?
automatic
The automatic one?
That is our Lucas device,
Yes.
which is
So
on the,
these are not Lucas
these are not the
devices?
Lucas device.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I thought we were 9,000 each, so that's for all.
Nope, that's for all 4.
Okay. So do you want 2 different motions?
Yes.
Okay, do you want me to make it?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion, we purchase 4, what ones are they? Do you know the brand?
ICPR 5.
Okay, I make a motion, we purchase 4 ICPI 5 automatic defibrillators to replace the life-limited, there's only so many updates each one of these can go through, and they're at the top, and those 4 are gonna be a total of $9,630.50.
Second.
Did you move the motion, Mark?
I made the motion.
Okay, you made the motion, yeah.
Need a second?
Okay, you second? All right, motion's been moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Clark? Yes. Kessler.
Yes.
I vote yes. Gopel.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, Mark.
The next motion is for 14 sets, correct, of turnout gear? I mean, we're doing 14 total, right? 20 total? Okay, but we're still looking, I thought you said 14 upstairs.
That's the total for 20 sets with boots and helmets.
Okay. 20 sets of turnout gear for a total, which are limited by a 10-year life, that's, federal law, and that's where our turnout gear is, we're at the 10-year life expectancy. And the total for that would be $77,220.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Chief, I just do have one. What do you do with the suits that we currently have?
They're non-compliant, so
They're
they just go in
non-compliant.
the
You just-
dumpster.
Yeah, they go in the dumpster.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question for the chief. I mean, is our department well-equipped?
Very well equipped.
Okay.
Yes, we don't impulse buy, if that's what you're looking for. We buy the stuff that we need to protect our residents and to protect our firefighters that are doing the job.
What do you anticipate that we'll have to replace next?
I think after the turnout gear, I think we're pretty good now. Our trucks, everything's pretty much in order. The aerial will be here this year, so we're excited about that, in October. So, pretty much that's the last big purchase for now.
And you do have the money available in your expense budget for this?
Absolutely. I checked with Mr. Broker this afternoon, and everything's in line with the equipment purchases that we need for this year.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Crew, will you please call the roll?
Gopel.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
I vote yes. Reed.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right,
Thank
thanks, Bob. I've told the board, advised the board about this, but we have a lot of projects going on in the township, and so I have asked all of our department heads, including our engineers, to meet, come here on a quarterly basis and bring us up to date. So we now have, for her report, is Melissa Lawrence from Lawrence Engineering, and she'll be providing us an update on projects which she's been working on.
Hello again. So this is just a quick update. I want to go over just some background. So you have a lot of infrastructure here in the township, so we'll talk about that real quick as far as your sanitary and water background, and then we'll talk about some of the more recent projects. And then just an update from the District 3 Budget Subcommittee meeting. So for a background, I don't know, I have charts, I don't know. Oh, there we go. Good. As far as sanitary and water in this township, you've got 58 pump stations to move the sanitary sewer around, and that's due to the lakes, the high water table. It's a lot of pump stations per any standard. That's a lot of pump stations for any community. On those pump stations right now, you've got 14 permanent generators, which is a nice thing to have because in any power outage or situation, they operate as just, no glitches. They switch over, automatic power. We watch them, make sure everything's good during the power outage. For the rest of the pump stations, in an extended power outage, we have 4 portable generators that can be pulled around and hooked up and rotated depending on how long and how busy or how large the pump stations are. That just depends on how often they've got to be turned on and off. On the pump stations, you have omni-sites on each of them. Those omni-sites are basically just a remote monitoring system, and they use a cellular service to do so, so we're not tied to a phone line. They give us alerts if there's a power outage, if a pump is down, if something happens, if one pump, if we've got 2 pumps on a pump station, if one pump is not pumping as much, the other one's pumping more. We can see all that either by alerts or we can log on and look at any given pump station at any time. So those omni-sites are a really nice thing just for management of the system. As far as what moves the sewer around, you've got 528,000 lineal foot of gravity main. That obviously is flowing by gravity. But coming out of those pump stations, you've got force mains, and you've got almost 80,000 lineal foot of sanitary force main to move that sewage to the gravity pipes. 2,500 manholes, that's just And then your water, which is newer, you now have over 56,000 lineal foot of water in the pipe, in the ground now between phases 1, 2, and 3 of the water project. Specific projects, so we'll just talk about a couple of them. The obvious ones, and you are all aware, phase 1, 2, and 3 of the municipal water. Phase 1 was bid out and awarded to LD Agostini in October of '22 for $4.8 million. That was 24,000 lineal foot. It stretched from, I think you have a map in there too, which I just kind of highlighted everything. That came down, came down Fenton Road to Thompson, across the highway to Jennings. Phase 2 and Phase 3 were awarded at the same time in June of '23. Both bid out. The winner for Phase 2 was LD Agostini again, the same contractor that had Phase 1, and Superior won Phase 3. The costs are up there. Another 21,000 lineal foot and 10,000, almost 11,000 lineal foot for Phase 3. Phase 2 just finished the loop, came down Torrey to Laring, crossing the highway and back up Jennings, so we had a loop. Phase 3 brought the water down to connect to Linden, so it'll be a really nice thing. Phase 1 and 2 are functional, operational, done, tested, people are hooking up. Phase 3 is done, it's being tested still, so that is not online yet. You also have a water tower that is, I would say, operational. It's hooked up and complete, but it is not filled yet. We need more water usage before that'll come online. We don't want water up in there freezing, but it's complete and ready. A couple more projects. This was back in August of '22. I think you've all heard of the North Long Lake Sewer Extension. That was a project that came about due to issues we had on Torrey Road with capacity and the pump stations there. The Torrey Road pump station, Laring Road pump station, and Grove Park pump station. By just doing, it was like 1,200 lineal foot of sanitary sewer between Force Main and Gravity to connect from Maine along North Long Lake Road to Wiggins. That short section rerouted what's coming from Thompson Road. Instead of coming down Main and going west to Torrey, it now comes down Main and goes east and comes down the Fenton Road arm. Fenton Road arm had capacity. It's worked perfectly. We have relief on Torrey Road, and Fenton Road has not missed a beat. So that was a very good project. That was bid out and awarded to Cook Excavating, and it was completed in January of '23. Stony Brook, that was a big project. That was a special assessment that the Stony Brook HOA came to the township asking for a special assessment because their storm system, like any storm system, needs to be maintained. That was a 20-plus-year-old subdivision. The ponds, the swales were overgrown, silted up. There was trees growing, and it impeded the storm flow. It was a lot of work. That was also bid out and awarded to Cook in '22. It actually finished, the final was finished in mid-2024, so that's done. Looked good, functioning well. The next one is the sanitary sewer video inspection contract. That was bid out and awarded to Cook in September of '23. And that, the title of that is the video inspection of the sanitary sewer, which is great because you can look and see what the condition of your pipes are. But it really isn't just a video. That's not all you got in that contract. If roots, mineral deposits, anything was found impeding the flow, those pipes, the roots, mineral deposits were cut, the lines were flushed, so it was more than just video inspection, but now we have all that recorded. That was completed in just this past summer. Then the next one, okay, the CDBG fund. So obviously that used CDBG funds for 2 pump stations, Firestone and Petts Road, over there in that area. They both got a permanent generator on them. And then the Petts Road pump station used to have the control panel down in the can, which required, when we did maintenance, we had to go down in a confined space. So part of that project was to bring that control panel up top so they do not have to go down in. That's a nice thing for maintenance. And that was completed, I think October. That's all functional now too. And then the last thing, this was just the District 3 subcommittee, report on the budget. And the county is, looking forward for the next, they have a 5-year, they do this every 5 years. But moving forward, they're looking at how to do solids handling and aeration. Solids handling is becoming a big deal if you've heard about the PFAS issue, because now with PFAS, there's no PFAS in our drinking water, there's no PFAS in the intake at Lake Huron, there's no PFAS in the drinking water coming over, there's no PFAS in our system, there's no PFAS when it comes into our homes in Genesee County. But when our waste leaves our homes, there's PFAS in the waste. And the PFAS, EPA, and now Eagle is coming down on water and waste in the treatment, that they have to treat for this PFAS, and oh, by the way, they don't get to just land apply the biosolids because of the PFAS in there. So, and PFAS is a man-made chemical that we use in our homes. It's water-resistant grease, so we use it in our Teflon nonstick pans, we use it in makeup, so we use it in our coats that don't, that repel water. So, and then it's also in industrial processes. So we are putting the PFAS into the waste. Anyway, the water and waste is dealing with solids handling and how to do that most efficiently and economically. So then also they're working on the state permit, expired back in October of '23. They're going back and forth with Eagle, the draft permit's back in. And the bottom line is they do not expect any sanitary sewer rate increase until at the minimum 2027. So that's just a very quick update. Any questions?
Can you make it longer and tell me about status updates for James Road Sewer and the Tucker project?
So the Tucker project is ready, permitted, all design done, complete, state permit back and everything. We have the bid package about ready to go, and we have about 12 to 15 contractors that we're going to be sending that bid package to. Me and Tom have been working on it. It's like it was going to go out last week, it didn't. But the contractors are aware that it's coming, so.
When are you expecting Bill?
We don't want them to start until October of this year.
Right.
We're
So
telling
timeframe
them
the same.
October of this year, because we're not concerned on timeline. The sewer is fine. We're trying to get past the summer months, because that sewer goes right through
The lakes.
Lake Shore property, yeah.
Yes.
And then Jennings Road is in and already back from Genesee County with comments. Revisions are back in, and they've already come back with, basically that's approved. We're still working with the road commission. They're still reviewing for their aspect of it. So that'll get complete here soon as far as permits, and then the decision will be when do we want to construct that.
Do you have any thought process on
I
that?
would think the construction of that would be 2026.
Spring?
The idea being to get it done before Thompson Road.
Right.
Yeah, the goal is to get it done before Thompson Road paving, the 3-lane expansion, which is gonna be a Q1 2026. So we're trying to tie it into that,
Right.
to make sure that we're not cutting up fresh pavement or messing with anything else, so.
Makes you look
We
stupid.
can
when you-
I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Brand new road and then yeah,
Yeah.
we're not gonna be,
Yeah,
anyway.
Good. Stupid. Surprised you were like.
Thank you, Melissa, and again, I appreciate you doing the quarterly reports, and we'll look forward to, seeing you again sometime in April.
One question, Melissa.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. 14 permit generators, 4 portable ones. Are those is that where we need to be right now?
It works.
Okay.
The
I know
more,
in a perfect world we
we
would have
still
more,
have
but
to
I mean,
monitor, even in an outage, if you had generators on all of them, we still have to watch.
Yeah.
Your contractor still has to watch during the power to make sure they're running.
the 4 portable ones are,
But the 4
Adequate.
portable ones have been so far.
Okay.
We don't ever get a complete outage
Blackout.
across 58 pump stations, knock on wood.
Mark, that's a very good question, and Melissa, I'd like you to stay up here if you could for a second, because that's something that Melissa and I have talked about, and I think it's something in the long term we need to look at, is
Oh, I thought-
increasing the number. It was a very smart question. I ask her all the time, because what's adequate today doesn't mean, I'm not talking about increased usage, anything like that. I'm just saying, if something major was to happen,
Yeah,
we're
we'll
not in
have
a
total
position with
blackout
50,
in about
we have
2
more
days
pump
now.
stations than anybody, including Grand Rapids,
Other than
except for Detroit. So to me, it would not reflect well if we're not prepared for, you know, the hurricane. So I think that's something that, and I've already asked Melissa to do this, is it may be something that I'll be bringing to the board to ask them for more money to get more backup generators. Because again, e-calls are very expensive. It's not cheap to send somebody out and start having them run all over, because they'll run over and get this one going until it's fine, then they'll take it, unhook it, and they'll run to another one. And, you know, we had a county-wide outage for a couple of days. We're gonna be in serious trouble. And in my opinion, it's something that we should look at the budget, and I think you and I and Tom should sit down and start bringing to the board in pieces to start making sure that we can do that, taking a look at our generators, make sure they're in good shape, and start adding, even if it's 3 or 4 generators a year, and I know that's an expense, but I think it's a smart expense, because when you put a generator on it and an Omni site on it, there is no e-call. You know, they have to monitor it,
Yeah.
but they're not on the job, they're not, and those are very expensive. You know, and one event can be a $20,000 event, so to me, we can knock off a few of those generators every year by just cutting down on e-calls.
It would be a help.
Thank you, Melissa, so much, so we'll have that conversation. Oh, sorry, is there any other questions for Melissa? All right, okay, are there any committee reports to be made to the board this evening? That was your report, Mark. All right, moving on to communications, none. All right, moving on to adoption of ordinances. This is rezoning number R24-008, Miller Industries, parcels number 06-03-200-011, also known as 11158 Torrey Road. Also parcels 06-03-200-022, 3231 Ray Road, and parcel number 06-03-200-029, and Thompson Road, Ag, and C3 to PUD. This is the second reading and the vote on the adoption. We have our zoning administrator, Mike Dean, here to explain.
Yeah, correct. So this is the second reading. As you'll remember, at the last meeting, we discussed the properties in question. For those that can see the map, it's the properties highlighted in red. The property that is accessed off of Ray Road only, right? The planned unit development has that remaining for agricultural uses. The 2 parcels that have access to either Torrey Road or Thompson Road have been designated for multi-use parcels. Potential uses would be those allowed in the office, commercial, or industrial zoning districts. The Planning Commission has reviewed the request, right, and they have made a recommendation to adopt the PUD ordinance, finding that the request is consistent with the updated Township Master Plan. There was specific discussion on the Ray Road parcel. The reason why that is to remain agricultural use is because that area of the township has been identified as low-density residential, while the remaining 2 parcels were identified for highway services. I know the applicant is here to answer any questions you guys have. I know that the first building that's proposed as part of this would be another industrial building similar to the one Miller Industries has right now. Other potential uses that were showed on the concept plan include restaurants and a hotel. So it's not just intended to be an industrial park. I'm here to answer any questions you have. The applicant's here to answer any questions you may have of him.
Before we have questions for Mike, Treasurer Tucker, is there anything you want to add?
No, I mean, we actually had this at the last board meeting level, and there was some discussion here. It was kind of interesting because a lot of the comments and questions that were raised were normal things that you hear when a development is proposed about property values and noise and, you know, things like that, a lot of which are site plan issues, but, you know, it's normal to hear that. But it was primarily from a family that owns property along here, and the concerns were a little different than what you usually get. I mean, they raised those concerns, but they were also interested in participating in the growth, you know, whether it's part of this project or in general. So it was to me, a little bit different than what I usually hear. I've been sitting and listening to, rezoning requests for 20-odd years now, and there's a pattern to things. If somebody's opposed to it, you hear certain kind of things. It was just a little bit different this time. This particular area, I drag you back in history, 20-odd years ago, we did the Township Road Corridor Plan, and we were all talking about all the great things we wanted to do in this area, but nobody told us that there's already an existing PUD that is now Miller's current building. Wasn't in the discussion process. So if you look in this area, and then you expand your gaze to the area that we're talking about, what else is gonna go in there given current development? Okay? Could you make an argument that you could bring in residential from Ray Road whenever it gets to the point that you can actually traverse it with vehicles? You could make that argument, but I don't think realistically that's what's gonna happen. I think the die has already really been set for this area. There's been discussions about additional demand because of other developments in the area, but, it's master plan for it. That's my mantra that I repeat to you guys, with the exception of the one parcel that we've talked about, that is, the uses are constrained. That, northerlymost parcel marked is not master plan, but the constraints in the PUD ordinance are to allow basically for turnarounds or emergency.
You're talking the one
exits.
that abuts Ray Road
Yes.
is
Yes.
still ag,
Yeah,
not master plan.
No,
not
it's-
master plan for this.
Are these separate resolutions?
no, it's all one PUD, and the PUD ordinance restricts the uses there to uses that would be in the ag district. So it doesn't violate the, existing.
Thank you, I apologize, because I was sick last week, or last meeting.
Oh, that's right, yeah,
That's
we were thin, I
They
forgot
covered
about that, yeah, there was just.
So the PUD that's existing now is still consistent with ag usage?
The PUD that's proposed that we're voting on today,
Yes.
okay, for that parcel, 'cause there's
Mhm.
multiple parcels here, restricts
Right.
the uses to uses that would be permissible in the ag district. And it's primarily emergency access and turnarounds is what we're talking about. So that's,
That's for the,
northerlymost parcel that butts Ray Road.
uh-huh,
And that's where the residents, where their properties are kind of around there and interspersed in there. They obviously had issues and concerns
yeah, right.
about it.
Yep.
But it was, as I said, it was a little different than what I usually hear, so. So anyway, to me,
What about the one parcel, I'm sorry, again,
Yeah.
that goes from the highway to Troy Road? The kind of,
Yeah, so that area is identified for highway service. So they'll uses, there's a proposal for industrial building on that parcel.
so it's consistent with the master plan.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to insult your intelligence. You weren't here last week, I'm trying to help you.
Is there any other questions for Mike? Or John?
I have a question for you. On that northern piece, are they gonna be able to develop there, or is it just a road access to get to Ray Road?
Yeah.
So as of today,
Okay.
right, they would be allowed to do whatever's allowed in the agricultural zoning district, build a house. I mean, probably some light farming, have emergency access road, and have a turnaround. They have the ability that if the master plan is to change, right, and we've talked about the need to continuously review our master plan, they can come in and revise the ordinance at that time. But as what's being proposed and what's being discussed today, they'd be limited to only agricultural uses on that parcel. And then, as we mentioned last time, the planning commission had a lot of discussion about this parcel during the Toms Road corridor and then the master plan. The original Toms Road corridor plan had the back, 3/4 of this as commercial. And the planning commission had concerns about the condition of Ray Road and having commercial traffic on Ray Road. And, I think, and John, you can jump in here, that had we known that these parcels would be combined and that access would have been available besides Ray Road, that parcel probably would not have been identified as low-density residential. Ray Road is a low-density residential road. There is no reason why commercial traffic should be going out onto that road. And so to make that clear, Planning Commission identified those lots along Ray Road as to remain low-density residential.
Yeah, I agree, Mike, if that would require you to know that these pieces are gonna be parceled together in the future and what the plans were gonna be, decision at the time was the correct one. I still think it's the correct one, and we're not really changing that now. It would change only if the master plan with respect to that parcel, it would only change if the master plan changes that would allow further development beyond the ag uses.
Any other questions for Mike or for John?
If the master plan were changed, because this is proposed as a PUD, they would still have to come back
Oh, yeah.
to
Okay.
Yeah,
request
there'd
that.
it'd be a rezoning change.
It wouldn't be automatic.
Yeah, it'd be an
Yeah.
amendment to the PUD, it'd require planning commission and board approvals, conditions, all that.
That was my understanding,
Yeah,
but I just
right.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, a motion is in order to adopt an amendment to zoning ordinance number 594 to rezone parcel 06-03-000-01 and parcel 06-03-200-022 and 06-03-200-029 from Ag and C3 to PUD as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes. I really think we have to look at industrial sites where way back when there were supposed to be services and enrichments for the public, for our residents. And there's a group out there now that is referring to Miller Industries as a mini mega site. They're taking property that should be used for other devices, and I think we have to really look at that. Expansion of industry basically destroyed Mundy Township's board during the last election. And it was over issues like this. I just think this isn't what the majority of people want. I'll rest my case. I could say a lot more, but it's not gonna make a shoot difference, but,
I listen to you, Bob.
and I know you guys do, but I can predict right now,
You probably can.
5-2.
Wow. I'm not gonna bet you, pretty good guess.
But it's just not the right thing to do.
The
I
only
mean,
thing
I have a question. I mean, do they have a preliminary site plan of what they're planning on putting in here? Is it just gonna be strictly industrial? Cause I've heard hotels, I've heard restaurants. I mean, do they have any type of preliminary, that's gonna service the public and, you know, kinda answer your question, you know, is it gonna help the community?
In my opinion,
Okay.
and I'll qualify it that way so nobody else gets gobbled up. Talking about a hotel, motel, and a restaurant in that same area is like putting a rose on a pig's nose. The rose looks nice, but it's still a pig.
To answer the question, we have a concept plan, right, that identifies potential uses. We have a site plan specifically for a new industrial building. The ordinance doesn't call out specific uses, it allows for a wide variety of uses. So, what I can tell you is that they have a proposal for an industrial building, and then future developments would occur on the remainder of the parcels.
I think that building is 270,000 square feet.
The proposed
Through the concept
Yes.
plan that I
Okay.
saw. I think that's correct.
Yes.
They are. Getting the family sitting here, so I mean.
Where do they plan on putting that building at? And
So basically behind the existing building, there's some wetlands there, so then behind
because
that.
I think, yeah, that's a great place to put it compared to the expressway would be great
Correct.
for exposure for.
Yeah, the concept plan
Hotels.
shows
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Restaurants.
commercial uses along the expressway.
Okay.
I listen to everybody on the board, and I'm not saying I disagree with Bob, but, you know, I look at Miller Industries as a neighbor, as someone that came and invested $30-40 million in our township, increases tax base, which helps our township pay for the services in which we render, whether it's police, fire. Never hear a problem. Neighbors don't complain. I think it's built in the right place, and they're asking this board to take a look at, and I'm sure there's a lot of communities out there right now would love, including tax incentives, to have them move and not invest in our township. And I personally, I say thank you for investing in our township because it does help. And I think it's the right place. It's already zoned that way. And so that's just my feeling. I do appreciate the fact of what you've done. You've been great neighbors and great partners in this township. So that's just my opinion. All right, any other discussion? All right. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Kessler,
Yes.
Krug votes no. Reed,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Gopel.
No. 5-2, look at that.
5-2, I'll be
You
back.
made it.
You called it.
Just think,
You called it.
I've got to say this, and if I'm out of line, Jack, have them throw me out. This is the way we have taken the master plan and bastardized it from what the original group wanted on Thompson Road.
Mike, I can't address that. Is that, I thought that piece of property that is now ag was actually commercial in the past master plan. So can you address that? I don't want to be wrong. I just want to make sure that,
So the original Thompson Road corridor plan had essentially two different classifications, right? It had the town center, right, which was areas that were designed to be walkable, mixed use, include commercial, institutional uses, residential uses, and then there was the highway service use, which was essentially more of an industrial take, understanding that the development on the north side of Thompson Road was a little bit more industrial than the vision for the rest of the district. And so, you know, this area has been identified as that highway service. Now, there were some concept plans that had like big box or large-scale buildings, you know, on the parcel. Is industrial use, you know, the same as what may have been discussed? No, but it was at the same time consistent with the text of the Thompson Road corridor. And when you consider what the highway service category was intended for, it was more intense use, and not the town center classification that was developed.
thanks, Mike.
Yep.
That was just for clarification.
And
I
for my
wrote it down.
clarification, Miller, what they have, they make it look, it's as good looking as anything that size is gonna be. I will never, I mean, how often you see me go ag to anything other than ag? So it's nothing personal, it's not. No, for what it is, ginormous building there, I mean, I've seen a lot smaller buildings look a whole lot worse. But it's just, I'm not
All right.
getting rid of ag.
All right, we're gonna move on to, next under adoption of ordinances is a proposed ordinance to create a Parks and Rec Advisory Board. This is the introduction and the first reading. Zoning Minister Deem.
You know, we've had
will
some,
review.
yeah, we've had some discussions, right? There's a lot of park and recreation opportunities in the township that are sort of being managed by volunteer groups. And we're at a point now where the township should be taking a stronger control over the parks in the township. You know, for instance, right, we have the dog park, we have the Pioneer Museum, we have some of the cemeteries in the township. We got the Township Hall Beach, we have a proposed Hogan Road boat launch. There's also some township property that we have on Laring Road, and there's been discussions of pathways and sidewalks. And, you know, when you consider the dog park group, they've been meeting, this board have been ad hoc, and they're working on fundraising, and we haven't really been involved, and we're at a point now where we should be more involved. To handle that, right, we're recommending the creation of a Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Right, we're proposing that it be 9 members, right, up to 3 township board members. Have a representative from the Lake Fenton School District and representative from the Southern Lakes Parks and Recreation. And then we identified some other organizations that you may want to consider appointing people from, such as the Keepers of the Shiawassee River, the Friends of the Dog Park, the Pioneer Memorial Association, which was Podunk, and, you know, having a more organized review of the parks and recreation opportunities. So it would still be making recommendations to the board. They would be involved with the long-range planning. So we'd go through the Parks and Recreation Master Plan update again with this new board. And then they'd be making recommendations for the management of the parks and recreation opportunities in the township. So we have the first reading of the ordinance. It's pretty straightforward. It talks about the membership of the board, the purposes, and require an annual report, so you guys are kept up to date what's going on with Parks and Rec in the township.
Thanks, Mike. Before we get into board comment, I'm going to, the board will now accept public comment on the proposed ordinance to create Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board? Could you repeat that again? I said, okay, I'm opening up the meeting for public comment on the proposed ordinance to create a Parks and Recreation Board. Is there anyone here? Yes, sir. Can you come up to the podium?
Well, I was just gonna say, it sounds like that would be a good place to put a park and recreation area right where you're gonna put that building.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Yes, can you come up to the, thanks.
You want me to identify myself?
Yes, just your name, please.
Gary Walker, Fenton.
I know, Gary.
Okay. I was on the other side of that. I was just wondering, why are we paying for people to have a park to walk their dogs? I've always thought that was ridiculous. Why?
Well, Mike, you want to address it? We don't pay for that park. That park, the land we got through tax, non-payment of tax went to the county, and then it was reverted back to the township. And the board,
We haven't spent a penny of
we haven't spent
taxpayer money on that park.
dollar
That makes me
of
feel better.
taxpayer funds,
Not 1 cent.
not 1 cent.
Because I mean, people should be able to walk their dog pretty much anywhere they want, as long as it's not on other people's property. But you know, I was under the impression that the township
Gary, there's
bought
a
and
lot
paid for
more
that.
to that lot than just a dog park. I mean, that lot is probably 4 times the actual size of that. So that's just the first thing we have in there.
I don't even know where it is, so
Well,
I don't know
Gary,
nothing
yeah,
about it except it exists.
Yeah.
dog parks exist everywhere. You go to Florida, whether it's on the beach, I mean, they designate dogs. Dogs are popular, and it brings a lot of people to your community too. So it does play a role. It's a small part of a park that we're hoping in the future is gonna grow to walkways. We're looking for grants right now. Mike and I are working with our grant writers to get grants for a walk around the pond back there. So, again, I don't know if you say you haven't seen it. I drive by it maybe 4 or 5 times a week.
I don't even know where it is.
If it's raining, snowing, mud, it's packed.
It's south off Thompson between Wiggins and Fenton. And again, the dog park that is all there now is just a driveway and 2 separate. And that's, you know, eventually, if more uses are put out there, it may cost something, but it's not, there hasn't been a penny of township money spent on that.
Well, I mean, as long as you guys have known me and I've known you guys, when it comes to taxpayers paying for things that, I'm frugal, and I don't think we should be spending money on stuff that's just a go. You know, I don't know if you know what that means, but, a waste. And I don't think the town should be in the business of wasting.
I concur.
But, I mean, as far as like the generators to make sure our pumps are running, that's great. If that's gonna save the township money and be more dependable, that's great. Keeping the firefighters alive by buying new equipment, that's fantastic, okay? When it says, oh, this isn't meet the criteria anymore, it's too wore out, I can't depend on it.
It's law.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a law, but it's still the right thing to do, regardless if it's law or not. So, anyways, I was just wondering about that. I may come up again on something else, but I was inquiring before you guys timed out on that, so,
Not a cent.
Not a problem.
good, thank you.
No problem. Is there anyone else here that would like to address the board? And really, it would be really about the creation of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Hearing none, I'll move to Zoom. Is there anyone attending via Zoom that would like to address the board only on the creation of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board? If so, unmute your mic, wave your hand. All right, hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I have a comment. As far as just talking about the generator, we're talking about anything, right?
No, this
Oh,
is
we're not
just
there,
on
we're not-
this,
we're
yep.
Never mind.
This is just on the creation of the
I,
board.
well, my comment is I'd like to be on the board, the committee.
Okay.
But, there you go.
Any other comments from the board? Anybody else with
I
any
mean,
interest?
I got a question. I mean, how much more is it gonna cost to maintain this park recreation for the dogs?
Nothing. It's all volunteer.
Just, oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My
So
mental
it costs
health,
the taxpayers no money?
Yeah, mental health.
Oh, okay, no money for the taxpayers?
No.
No.
And the point is that as we have these properties, and like the podunk, they come and request money. They could do a lot better job if they were able to build a kitchen, because they bring the schools in. It's a great history lesson. We probably remember those when we were kids.
Sure.
You got on a bus and you went somewhere, and so they come to the board and they request money. And there's a lot of questions, and we don't have the research. And this board can ask 15 questions, and really, there isn't somebody out there or a board that's making a recommendation. So Bill, you have to look at this, no different than the fire, committee or any other committee. We're at a point now where we have enough property that what we should do is have a board, an independent board, that is monitoring this. We don't have just volunteers managing the dog park. Legal, they're looking at things that are legal. Do we have the right signage up? Do we have everything else? What can we do to increase traffic at Podunk? So this is an all-volunteer organization. Gives us the authority to create it. This board needs to vote on it, create the authority, so we can have an all-volunteer, taking a look at everything that we have going on in the township regards to park.
And we're also looking at additional funding through grants, right? And part of the grant is, well, what's your plan? What public participation have you had? And having an advisory board, it makes that process a lot easier. Planning Commission has been extremely busy, and our agendas aren't getting any lighter. And so having a different avenue to have public comment, public planning for Parks and Recreation is gonna be a benefit to the township in the long run.
All right, any other comments? Hearing on the second reading and a vote on the adoption of the proposed ordinance we conducted at the February 4th meeting. Moving on to unfinished business, we have none tonight. New business, none. Next, business in order is board comment. Is there anyone on the board that has additional comments or concerns?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Question, are we still self-insured?
In what
Yeah,
aspect?
what is?
Sewer backups.
There's a policy in place, it's limited in coverage, don't ask me what the number is.
Oh,
but we-
Vince hit on it, Gary was kinda asked, or mentioned something about it, and I just
Yeah, we have what
With
insurance is available, it's difficult to get.
With the generators, you say one backup into one of these Lake Fenton houses is probably gonna cost us, everybody here, more than the cost of a generator.
Well,
Which is why,
and Melissa and I talk about this, don't we, Melissa? Because I think the last one we paid out was $160,000.
how many generators will that get us?
Yeah, about 3.
Yeah.
So the point is since Lawrence has been looking at it, and since we've been monitoring everything, like I said, we've made changes in the sewer, we did the North Long Lake. It is looked at, Mark, all the time. And I think it is time, though, that when our engineers say it's time to add a generator here, I look at e-calls all the time, and we were at 400,000, now we're at $200,000, and that's because we invested money, and it was ARPA money, but we invested money in generators. I think we should start doing that more often. We don't have to have these huge ones at everyone, because some of them are not as big as others, correct? But we do need to move forward, so that's an excellent question, because it only takes one or two.
It probably got missed when Melissa was making a report, but she said something that was significant, and what she said is that we have to prioritize.
Right, yeah.
And that's, well, I would agree with the concept, right? But she has the data, and she knows where the vulnerabilities are. None of us know that, okay? And what we've done in the past is we've tried to put them in the places where we're most vulnerable.
I just wanted to put that out
Yeah.
into the ether, that's
Oh,
all.
that's great,
Yeah, yeah.
that's great.
That's all.
Yeah.
No, I
Melissa,
understand.
But you're 100% right, the backups, we can't
Promise.
afford the backups. They're $175,000 each. Yeah, it's not always because of a power outage, but, you know,
It could be any reason.
you do what you can do to stop paying those kind of claims.
Melissa, in your next quarterly report, if not sooner, can you give me a report on any recommendations that your engineering firm could see in the future, let's say in 2025, going into 2026, what the plans would be? All right. Jack?
Municipal liability on sewer backups and whatnot is very, very limited. Very limited.
You have to know about a problem and not fix it.
Right, I mean, and so it's real limited. You're not gonna get like the $9 million judgment that the city of Flint had against them back when. As a result of that and a few other things, they changed a lot of the laws, and so you have very limited liability on that.
Well, when did they change it? Because they just said the last one we had cost us $1.50.
I don't know when that was, but,
Melissa
I
does.
mean, it's real unlikely that would happen. I mean, if you had a sewer backup tonight, I would think you'd have very, very limited liability.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're right, unless we knew of a problem and we didn't fix the problem. And that's what I am trying to protect the township by making sure our engineers know at all times. They're looking at the system, and if they see a problem, we fix it. So it would prevent us from maybe having a big payout. Correct?
Yeah, but being dumb sometimes works. Well, no, I'm
We
just
don't
saying.
qualify.
You know, no,
Yeah, I was
you're
gonna
right, that's not gonna happen here, but I'm just saying, some municipalities that don't do as much as you do can still escape liability. I mean, you're way ahead of the curve.
We don't wanna be that.
Yeah, well, you know what, I don't wanna be the township that somebody has a $300,000 sewer backup when we say, sorry, we don't have any liability. I mean, we don't teach residents
What
that way.
Vince is proposing, I think, is preventive maintenance.
It's the right thing
It's like
to do.
changing oil in your car.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's a bad idea, I'm just talking law stuff.
Okay, thank
You
you.
know, lawyers don't always relate to reality.
You all, I appreciate your checks and balances. All right, moving on to the next business order is public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. Is there anyone here present tonight that would like to address the board on any item, agenda or non-agenda items? Yes, come on up. We do know your name, but you can just, start talking.
This isn't really a township matter, but it's kind of a state matter. I understand that Michigan was gonna cut down several thousands, maybe not several thousands, but some thousands of acres and put up solar
400.
farms.
400 acres.
Up north.
Gaylord,
Call your governor.
Yeah,
she'll help you.
I'll say this, I just saw something yesterday, because that was DNR land. There was some administrative proclamation that ain't gonna be any more of that, given what happened there. It doesn't necessarily help that one, but they're aware of the backlash, and so it's not likely to happen again.
yeah, I don't know if they started it or not, but, you know, as far as people start crying all the time about the environment now, I mean, most people care about the environment as they see it, you know. But, you know, going out and cutting down thousands of acres of forestry or whatever it is to put up solar panels. It can't be good for the environment and the animal population and other things up there, and, I mean, I don't know, I think it's ridiculous, but, you know, that's my opinion, and you know what opinions are, everybody has one.
Thanks.
So, I don't know, that's really what I came up about today, so. I just lucked out with the park thing. I was actually thinking about that last week, and up it came. So, have a good night, thanks.
Thanks, yep. Is there anyone else here that would like to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move on to Zoom. Is there anyone here attending via Zoom that would like to address the board tonight on any subject? If so, unmute, raise your hand. Jason?
Hey, everybody. Yeah, why not?
not?
Back to Miller for just a quick second. First of all, facility looks great. Just curious, so I'm on Ray, like a few people that were in the previous meeting. Just curious, can we just get a clearer expectation around what emergency access means for the proposed complex? That's my question.
Usually what it would mean, we're normally talking about fire trucks when we talk about that. It could be police, but usually what it is a roadway. It may be improved, it may just have mats on it that supports the weight of the fire truck, so it's not obviously a road, and it has either a breakthrough gate or a gate that has access key for the fire department. And typically the reason you have it is they like to run, if there's a fire, they like to run their runs in a circle, so they can dump water, leave, come back, fill up the tank, and just, there's not conflicting traffic movements within the firefighting component of what they're doing. So a lot of times you don't even see them because they're mats. I'm not sure what they're made out of, but the grass grows over them, but they're down there, they're sufficient to carry the weight of a fully loaded fire truck.
Okay, that's helpful. And I'm on the east side of Ray, so real close to Torrey. But from a construction perspective, I guess, is it fair to state that construction traffic will not use Ray?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Jason. Anyone else via Zoom that would like to address the board? Julia, you're usually... Nothing? All right.
I was waving at her, I couldn't even get her to wave.
It is now 7:32 p.m. If there's nothing else, I say good night, and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for coming tonight.
You're brave, you're very brave.
I was going to say I wouldn't get on this one.
No.